everyone. Here we are again. 2 weeks on from the election. I'm here, Martin Costello, joined by Debbie Hicks. As you both know, we were standing in Swindon to defend your freedoms. Now, Debbie, how are you 2 weeks on now the dust is settled?
Yeah, I'm good actually. I've reflected on the election. Obviously, it was worse than we expected in the sense I don't think any of us wanted a Labour landslide, did we? But I was hoping it'd be more closer to a hung parliament. That's what my hopes were. So obviously that hasn't changed. I'm hugely disappointed. Um, I don't feel bad about our result or my result because I wasn't expecting to do very well because we were up against so much,
Yeah.
and I don't think that would have been any different. There was anything we could have done to change that result. It's the way it is with the way the elections are in this country, I think.
No,
Um,
exactly.
but
And
yeah, I think we've learned a lot about how the establishment work, or maybe even more than we understood before. And
exactly.
yeah, I
And I
mean,
think that's the point of this video, really. I think it's quite important now that we can reflect back and help people understand what we went through, but hopefully
mm,
inspire other people as well to stand up against the political establishment. So that's why I think
yeah,
it's a great opportunity for us to talk about our experiences and what we found over that whirlwind 7 weeks. To me, it's still a bit of a blur, but hopefully we can talk about a few things. Now, as you know, yeah, Debbie and I, we started our campaign about it's probably about the end last week of May, when we heard about
yeah,
the election. So straight away, there was no doubt about it. We were putting ourselves forward because we're absolutely disgusted with the political establishment, and we knew it was going to be a mountain to climb, being up against the blob. But Debbie, one thing, well, the first thing I wanted to talk about really was, I suppose, the mainstream media coverage, because as we
mm,
saw, the red and the blue, as per usual, the uni party getting all the coverage. We had that
yeah,
issue where at the Steam Museum, where for my constituency, just Robert Buckland and Heidi Alexandra, the Labour and Tory candidate, were given
yeah.
free reign, and nobody else was invited down to that. What was
No.
your thoughts on the mainstream media?
I mean, obviously we were expecting it to be that way. We were expecting to be excluded, but I don't think I expected it to be quite as bad as it was, in the sense of I actually think, because as you have been and I have been before involved in politics, and I was involved in Labour politics, I actually think it's got worse, Martin. I think that's the worst I've ever seen for such a controlled election. With the way the media were operating, it was unbelievable. I mean, it literally was even shutting out the Lib Dems and the Greens when they normally include them a little bit more, don't they?
Mm,
And yeah, and also I have to say, I know there's been a lot of discussion about this, and we do need to discuss it. I think it was very interesting how the local elections reform had just done really poorly, and literally just a few weeks later,
mm,
there was this huge turnaround with all the mainstream media focusing on
mm,
reform. Which I think was very telling, actually, that there was some agenda at play here, that they were pushing
definitely.
reform and how they were getting airplay as well. So you had Labour,
Mm,
which tells you what you need to know, doesn't it? You had Labour, you had the Tories and Reform getting a lot of airplay and the
yeah.
others being excluded. And I think when you look at those election results, that is exactly how it's been reflected.
And
Is
Debbie, yeah,
who's had the most media airplay within many
exactly.
seats,
And that
with many seats Reform coming in third because of
exactly.
that.
And that
So
brings us on to another issue, actually, because BBC Wiltshire, there was one husting between Swindon North and Swindon South, and that was in Highworth, which is in North Swindon, that Debbie
yeah.
attended. There was none in South Swindon, but the BBC Wiltshire held a husting. Now, well,
Mm,
someone brought this to my attention, asking why Debbie and I, wasn't on the road. So
yeah.
I was shocked by this. It was a radio husting about 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning, I think a week beforehand. I phoned up the
Yeah.
producer, and I was absolutely horrified. What she said. She basically said that
Mm,
the independent candidates, the only ones pretty much not invited, um, didn't have a realistic opportunity of winning, so we weren't invited. I mean, that was absolutely appalling. And what they're doing there, they're actually conditioning people who to vote for. Because we were excluded, it was like telling people, don't bother voting for them because they're not here. And I asked her, who gives...
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're not interested when actually it's because they wouldn't have us on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I found that absolutely so insulting that we put our deposits down. We should have had an equal platform. Now, Debbie, you took it one step further because you contacted Ofcom over this, didn't you?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, actually. I got a response literally a few days ago. I got a written letter from Ofcom, unfortunately saying what we expected them to say, that the BBC were within their rights to exclude people that they didn't feel had a chance of winning. Which to me is ridiculous, that this is how Ofcom operates. These are the so-called rules. I mean, in a democracy, it's absolutely appalling. And it's just saying that they're welcome to, they're able to invite people that they think are going to get a decent vote share on the airwaves. But
who are they to decide who that is, though? And I said to the BBC producer, what chance have we got if you're not allowing us to set our stall out? I believe this, when there's an election, either everyone gets a platform or nobody does. But as you can see, though, the whole process, it's always red and blue. Then they wonder why, we're stuck in this two-party system as well.
Yeah.
But like I said, we never even had the real chance to have any of the candidates scrutinise. I'm just going to play a video now, actually, because as I mentioned just a moment ago, that in South Swindon, there were no hustings. Debbie and I we set up a stall on a nice Saturday afternoon in a lovely park called Queen's Park in Swindon, to speak to the local electorate, and none other than Heidi Alexander, the Labour candidate who got elected in my ward, turned up. I'm just going to quickly show this video now of what happened when we approached her.
Yeah.
Martin is also running in.
Finally we get to meet. Finally.
Heidi.
Why, is that a problem?
No, I've actually come to do some judging for.
Right.
There's a little a competition going on, and so Joseph has invited me to come along and judge that, obviously.
Yeah.
So I know that he wants me to go and do that quite quickly. So I was just going to grab a drink, and obviously I know you're both candidates in the election. And this event is not really a political event.
No, can I ask though, because in Swindon there aren't any hustings organised. No, can we have a...
Heidi, you are avoiding hustings in Swindon. You should be turning up at the hustings and facing the public scrutiny. You are avoiding public scrutiny. Don't lie to people and say you're not here for politics when there's an election.
Check that out, guys. That was Heidi Alexander there. She will not face the public.
Isn't it? Because
There.
I mean, you spoke to her first of all, actually, when you got hold of her. She looked completely shocked, didn't she? It was.
Yeah.
What did you?
The first thing she did, when she's clearly been, well seasoned and well trained to do it, was she was scanning to see if anyone was recording, wasn't she? And as soon as she clocked that camera, the phone, that was her question, wasn't it? Is it being recorded? And then a panic sort of went over her face, didn't it? And then she turned around and said, well, I'm not here for politics. And it's, what? You're just putting out on your Labour schedule for the whole of Swindon that we happen to be told about that you are campaigning here today. So, surely for any rational-minded person seeing that, surely that tells you everything you need to know about her.
Exactly.
That she's going to stand there and not being able to prepare to talk to people. Because if she's a strong candidate and she believes in her policies, what is the problem?
Exactly. And funny enough, Debbie, I bumped into someone on Friday. Actually, he just wanted me to pass on to you. Actually, he wanted to thank you for the work you did undercovering, exposing that hospital, because he went to the hospital at the same time and saw the same thing. But he also said that Heidi Alexander knocked on his door. And as soon as he started talking about the World Economic Forum, she just ran, sort of thing. So the whole thing's a hoax. But something actually sinister about this election. Well, we don't know if it's sinister, but very, very odd. Now, people will know that we tried to put a leaflet out to every single door in Swindon at great expense. Many people we spoke to, I'd say, for me personally, the majority of people did not receive my leaflet, which was worrying.
No. I was told similar.
Yes.
Obviously through people that we both know, but also through friends and family that live in the Swindon area, that live in North Swindon. I was told never received my leaflet. Now, whether that's just unique to us in Swindon or it happened to other candidates, I don't know, because there were also some people that came up to me and said, I received your leaflet equally. So it's really hard to tell what's been going on, isn't it, Martin? And I think, and the problem is, which is why I never took it up with Royal Mail, is how do you prove that their post people didn't post that? Because if they go to the post people on their hands and say, did you do this? They're not going to say, oh yeah, I didn't do it. Yeah. So and whether it's something more sinister, how the hell do we prove that? It's really difficult. But yeah, I mean, we were hugely disadvantaged. I would imagine by what percentage, I don't know, but it looks like a lot of people probably didn't even know we were running, Martin, did they?
No, exactly, and that's why it's so difficult as well. And we saw in other areas actually, like even there was a post person, he was like writing like on reform leaflets, calling them racist and things like this.
Yes, I did see that clip, exactly. So the politics does come into this, and while we've got no proof, I mean, Royal Mail is very, I said this to you before, is very unionised. So you've got a very left-wing Labour movement influence in Royal Mail. So there could be foul play. We just don't know. I mean, we have to ask these questions. Yeah. What's going on? Is there a political bias where some leaflets are not going to be delivered and others are? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely disgusting. You know, when we work hard to be able to do that for people, and if that's what's happened, then those people should take a longer look in the mirror. You know, because that's what fascism actually is when they're suppressing the freedom of speech like that.
Exactly. And I mean, and the ridiculous thing is, I mean, we can talk about that in a moment if you like. You know, we're being called far right, which is absolutely ridiculous. But you look at what was on our leaflets, there was absolutely nothing on those leaflets that was offensive in any way whatsoever.
How dare you call them a piece?
Imagine if there was a leaflet. Imagine if there was a leaflet with something offensive. Yeah. Even then, I would say, because I strongly believe in free speech, those leaflets should still go out. You know, it's this is how ridiculous it all is the censorship.
They were rattled by us, though, particularly because we were like calling for peace out in Ukraine and Gaza and Palestine. And actually, that leads us on to another subject. Actually, there was one part in the campaign where Debbie and I went to support, show our solidarity actually with the Palestine movement, because Debbie, you were invited, weren't you, down to that?
Yes, it's very strange actually, because as I spoke about before, and the fact that I've been questioned about this by people in Swindon, I found very offensive, when a lot of them in that movement know what I've done in the past as well. They full well know. I think just before the election was called, I'd done a few street stalls, hadn't I, in Swindon? I think you might have been there that day when we had a street stall. And I was talking about running in Swindon, and they had a rally for Gaza, and one of the women, I think she was like an organizer, came by the stall, and at first she was a bit abrasive and she was quite angry because there was a Costa coffee cup on the table. And she said, you know, if you believe in supporting Gaza, you shouldn't be drinking that. And it opened up this conversation. It was a bit heated to start with. And I even questioned, as I always do anyone, and I said, well, hold on a minute. You know, fair enough, you're going to criticise that. But what about if I looked at what you do? And then she admitted she was wearing Nike trainers. So it opened up this very open discussion about Gaza and money. And at the end, I put my hand out and said, you know, to shake her hand, and she said, right, come along to the next demonstration, and this was before the election was called, Martin, come along and speak. And I said, because she kept saying to me, why haven't you been before? And I said, well, the truth is, I said, because you've got a heavy Labour Party influence there. I've stayed away because I didn't think it would be appropriate because they don't like me, I said. And she said, oh, no, she said to me, she assured me, they don't come anymore, she said. So come along. I said, okay. And I remember saying to you about it, that's really positive, isn't it? And so obviously we've been busy, I think 2, maybe 3 weeks later, I said to you, Martin, why don't you come as well?
Yeah.
Because I've been made to feel welcome to to go along. And we joined the march at the top in Old Town, didn't we? On
yeah, and they were very welcoming to us as well. You know, it's a really nice atmosphere up there. People taking time out to speak to us.
Yeah, and that was fine, wasn't it? I mean, there's a couple of faces I knew from stuff I'd done in the past with Labour and that sort of movement, and you knew a few faces from Swindon, and they were fine. They were like, you know, we were there. That was good that we were there to support, and we marched down to the town with them, to the town centre. And then I can't remember, you had a few chats with people. We stopped outside the BBC, didn't we? Which is fair enough. I agree with that. You know, BBC are part of the problem with all this news coverage. And then we got down into the town, and there was a lady in a hijab who clearly was one of the organisers, who come up to me and had a real problem with me being there. Her first she came up to me and she said to me, "Oh, you're the independent candidate, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I can't remember how the conversation transgressed. I think I said something like, innocently assuming they would be angry with Labour because of Labour voting for the attacks in Gaza and being with it. I turned around and said, because they'd been at Robert Buckland's office and we'd just come down. I said, you know, how did you go up by the Labour offices? And then I could see her attitude changed, and I started to wonder who she was. And she got quite angry, and she said, Will Stone, the Labour candidate, and Heidi Alexander have asked for a ceasefire. And that's when I thought, oh, whoa, hold on a minute. I've obviously hit something here. And I did wonder if she was kind of Labour. And she was really, she got quite angry with me. She said, "Why haven't you been before? Why aren't you here every week? You can't say you're for Gaza and you're not here." And I said, "Well, actually, I've been doing stuff for years, just because I haven't been here the last few weeks. I've been busy with the election." And I said, "I've been going into London to some of the rallies." And I said, "I've stayed away because of the way the Labour Party are, and they don't like me." And then she got even more angry, and I thought, ooh. And I said, in the end, I said really nicely, I said, "Look, do you want me to go?" And she said, no, you can stay. And I said, because what you have to understand is, even if I was brand new to this issue today, and I didn't know nothing about the situation, I was just learning, I said, really, you should be welcoming people that are waking up to this. And I said, there's somebody else here with me, and I was talking about you, who I said has come along, who's quite open-minded about this and wants to support, doesn't like genocide and war. And I said, really, you should be welcoming that. No, you're welcome to stay. And at that point, it felt really unwelcome, Martin. So anyway, we carried on walking, didn't we? And I mean, do you want to explain what happened at the end? Because we got to McDonald's, didn't we?
We went round there. But like you quite said, I mean, anyone who come, even for the first time, should have been welcomed there. Well, actually, I want to say though, 99% people were. It was just one or two bad apples.
One or two people, exactly.
And then we had speeches out by McDonald's that we were like listening to, and there was some nice poems being read. Then there was some guy from the Socialist Worker Group or something who made indirect comments about myself mainly, I suppose, and you. It's probably directed at me, and they know who and this is the thing, they know who I am, because I know a couple of the people from instead of like being welcoming to everyone and like, you know, we're all supposed to be here because we want a ceasefire and we don't want any more death and destruction, they're suddenly attacking like us, this one chap for the Socialist Worker attacking us because they don't care about peace. They were just completely using it for their own political gains. And that was a really sour end, actually, to the day, from when everything went really well, really, and everyone, you know, was nice to us, and they were pleased to see us there. We weren't going up there handing leaflets out, like, oh, look at us, we're the candidates. We were there peacefully at the back.
Share it on social media. We thought it was not appropriate to do it, because we didn't want to try and make capital out of it. We were just coming along just to say, look, we stand with you. And I even said to that lady, I said, look, one of your colleagues invited me. I said, otherwise I probably wouldn't have come. That was the reason I went along. And it just seemed, it seemed toxic, which I think is awful when this issue of genocide people should be about unity and coming together. And Martin, even if they've got some ridiculous belief for some reason that you are far right, or for God's sake, I'm far right, when some of them know me anyway, so they know I'm not far right. How about having a dialogue with you? And trying to understand why is it you're here kind of thing. I mean, rather than just shouting names over a megaphone at you. I mean, I honestly, I think it said it all really, that unfortunately there's a movement in this country, and I'm not saying it's everybody. As we said on that day, there were some lovely people there that made us welcome.
Most people were nice. Yeah.
But there is people in this movement that are toxic, that are tribal, and that really, to me, are not really about peace. Actually, they're about control.
Yeah. And that's when these things turn up, though. Like, because as you've seen in the past, there's a lot of different movements get hijacked. You know, like we've seen like the BLM movement come out, and all these different things, they get hijacked for political gain. And then, of course, I've been to them before. I've done nothing but observe. The next thing I know, I'm being like grabbed by the police and being thrown out, and I haven't even done anything. You know, we're not welcome there because you know, because they're trying to use it for their own political gain, and they're not interested in peace. These toxic people that infiltrate these groups, like I say, most people join them because they, you know, they care and they want peace and stuff. But you get these bad apples that go in and try to hijack it, and that was another example there. But that was a really interesting part of the campaign.
A very interesting part of the campaign, and also, if I may add, my suspicion that she was very pro-Labour was proven because I then bumped into her at the count with the Labour Party, and then when you come on to that issue in the moment about what happened at the count, as I left the count, obviously after sort of making my thoughts very clear to the whole hall, she was stood, and I think she was very embarrassed actually as a Muslim lady. She stood with her back to me as I shouted out, "You've got blood on your hands," while all the rest of them were looking at me because she didn't want me to see her.
Very bravely.
And I'd already seen her at the count anyway, so I just think I'm sorry, but you know, you're not really a true, and that's no offense to all the Muslims that quite rightly are saying what's happening to other Muslims in Palestine is wrong, but she's not a true Muslim to be supporting this genocidal Labour Party and to be like that towards me as well. I mean, you know, that and that's such a shame for the other Muslims that don't think that way, that there's people like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it has to be called out because that was very rude. She was very rude that day, and
you can hold your head up. Hi, Debbie. There. I'm just conscious of the time, but there's another big part of the election. I mean, we could speak probably for hours about our experiences for all the campaigning we did, and you know, we met some amazing people as well. But of course, we got election night as well, which on the 4th of July. I'm just going to put an image now. So this was me on stage. There I am standing next to the odious Robert Buckland and all the others with the results come out. Because Swindon South actually is the second fastest county in the country.
They're trying to get the top spot, aren't they? I think. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
So that was the second result coming out there, and of course we know it's just Robert handing the baton over to Heidi and our unit party. But of course, so then after that, 2:00 in the morning, the North Swindon results were announced, and of course we had to listen to the waffle from Justin Thomason, obviously outgoing, he knew it. And it's Will Stone. I mean, God knows where they get these candidates from, really. I mean, he's as wet as a lettuce, isn't he, that guy? And God knows how he's going to stand up in Parliament. But the highlight of the night for me, actually, was this amazing moment, actually, Debbie, when you very bravely and courageously called out. And I'm going to play this video now. Then we're going to have a look at how it was reported next day. So let's just get the video up. This was 2:00 in the morning, I suppose, in the early hours of the 5th of July.
Think of your children and your grandchildren. There is a company running election services. Digital election services is run by a limited company.
Very, very brave there. And actually, it's quite interesting what you were saying, because obviously you were calling out of, it'd be your children being brought to war. Then within 2 weeks already, we've got Keir Starmer and Labour already agreeing to send more money out to that corrupt cesspit Ukraine. And of course, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he sanctioned some bombings somewhere else. But Yemen.
I think
yeah,
it was Yemen,
man, that
wasn't
was
it?
it. Yeah, this is the article now. I'm just going to bring this up. So this is the amazing, this great
That's
picture.
what I did it for. I mean, that is what I did it for, was the chance that they might, because they know they're going to get hits, it's how the media works, something controversial, they're going to get hits. And that is why I did it, because I thought this is a way of me getting the message out. So I stole the moment, and I don't care. I don't give a shit if people don't like it. You know, you know, sometimes we have to do these things to get a message out. And
brave.
you know, there will be people in Swindon that hopefully that message will have got through to. That
I love this picture that's up at the moment. You got Will Stone staring at his shoelaces. You got Les Willis, the Labour guy, looked like a rabbit in headlights, and yeah, you giving
kind of like this. Yeah.
So,
my husband said he looked absolutely terrified, the Reform candidate. I don't know what he thought I was going to do, but
yeah. But check this out. Then it says, after the Swindon North MP was announced, just after 2 a.m., independent candidate Debbie Hicks shouted into the microphone and appeared to be pulled away from the podium. Then it went on. Debbie Hicks took the opportunity to run up to the microphone and shout, "Prepare for World War, it's
run
coming."
up. Is that what they said? Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even move because I was right in front of the microphone. And I didn't even grab the microphone. It was just left switched on, and I was stood, you know, and I know I've got a very loud voice when I want to use it. That is all I did, actually. I didn't have to do any more. So they have twisted some of that, as they always do, but it doesn't matter.
It beats it up. It says, you won't be laughing when it's your children drafted in. And then it also talks about when the local democracy report spoke to you a couple of weeks before about the lockdown restrictions. And of course, you're right about that. And you were vindicated for that. So you'll more than likely be vindicated again. But, you know, that was a very, very brave thing to do. And that, I think, got more coverage.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Martin. I was, as I said to you, the censorship that I've never seen as bad as I have at that general election, the way we were shut out, the unfair treatment, the carrying on that we saw at the count with the collusion between the BBC and certain people and Labour. You know, it was just a scam sham from every angle we want to look at it. And I was so furious at these, how can I put it politely, smarmy, up themselves bloody people, cardboard cutouts in suits that have no sense of reality. They haven't got a clue about what's going on in the world. They're just thinking about their careers. Stood there so self-satisfied, and I was just so angry with them when I thought, you people are dragging us into a bloody war, you know? And I thought, right, I'm just going to, you know, I was just full of fury, actually, at their attitude, because they were just so rude and arrogant at that count, weren't they?
The whole Labour lot would, look at us winning, but, you know, you were the bravest person on that stage, and I mean that as well, you know. It was easy for them to stick their name to a badge, you know, but like both of us, we put our own names out there. We weren't affiliated with anything but our own beliefs. So every vote we got were for us, every single one. Yeah. Will Stone and Heidi, their vote was for Labour, you know, and this Reform, there was for Nigel or whatever, but those people that voted for us literally voted for us as people, and I thank every single one of you that, you know, that was a huge boost, and hopefully we can inspire other people to do this, because that's what they hate. They hated us up on that stage. That was their worst fear when, like, you and I are up there, because we weren't supposed to be there, and that's why they tried to ignore us, and they continue to do that. But I guess, I suppose we've only got a few minutes left. But I think would you do it again, Debbie?
Maybe. I think it may be. It depends. I think there's, you know, local elections or something, if they're going to happen, something to think about. Because I think the lesson, which I think I was aware of anyway, but I don't think I realised that people don't use a protest vote at a general election. They look at it as a 2-horse race, unfortunately, which is what they do. Even though, and that's another thing, obviously voter turnout for Labour was incredibly low. You know, 20% of the people that voted voted Labour. I mean, it's no mandate at all for the Labour government. Absolutely shocking. But in local elections, which is what we saw at the mayoral elections as well, just before the general election, the independents received a much bigger vote because the people see it as a protest vote between elections. So I think if we wanted to do something again, which is why I think you got a bigger vote share when you stood locally as well, I think local elections are probably when people are going to be in a few years' time fed up with Labour, which they're going to be very quickly.
Well, I'll
if
tell
we
you
get
what,
the chance,
yeah, I will definitely run again. And you know, my message to Heidi as well: I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. I'm not going anywhere. You know, this isn't a joke. This is our future, our children's future here. I'm not going anywhere. One vote is, to me, is one vote that she won't get. So I will definitely stand again. And I'll be watching very closely over the next couple of years. And like I said, I'll be holding Heidi's feet to the fire every single moment. All these promises that she's made, I'll be watching you. And for the Labour Council, all of them, you know, this is, you know, we were under no illusion that she would be rolled in. But I'm going to tell you now, I will be watching you like a hawk, Heidi, and I'll be back again. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to, next time, if I double my vote, fantastic. Can't wait. Bring it on.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's let's see what happens. They're going to, I mean, whatever, they're going to become very unpopular very quickly. The stuff that they're going to roll out and that they're rolling out already is just, you know, diabolical, and all hidden behind things that sound very nice when actually, when you dissect them, it's just awful stuff, you know, like what's going on with the minimum wage. But then they're stopping the state pension. You know, it's, you know, so okay, you'll get a minimum wage, isn't that lovely? That sounds really good, £15 an hour, but it means you're not going to qualify for your state pension now.
Exactly. So what really worried me, actually, I'll just say quickly, was like how little people know about what they're voting for as well. It was so tribal. Once again, though, we've got to break that, people. Look at what you're voting for. I know it's difficult when, you know, we got a lot of censorship, but please, for the love of God, look what you're voting for before you do it. Don't just think, oh, they've got no chance, that's a wasted vote. That's what they want you to think. You've got to snap out of that and just vote with your heart, you know? And the right
I
way.
think to be fair, I know you probably want to finish, but I think to be fair, I think a lot of people, probably a lot of very good people, I mean, we spoke to the reform people at the Count, and they were very nice people, and some of them really genuinely concerned about stuff, but I think a lot of people were fooled by the reform kind of option. They thought it was something different, a way of having a kind of a stab at the establishment. But what they don't realise is that it is the establishment reform. And also, and I say it, because I've been involved in politics. And when I left university, I even used to work in Westminster. I know how it all works, and they all do deals with each other. It's how it works. And I can guarantee you there was some kind of a deal. It'll probably come out one day between Farage and Tice and Labour to, you know, help Labour get that big majority, because it was reform that split the vote. That if you look at that, if it wasn't for reform, there's a lot of seats that Labour would not have won, because it split the vote so hugely. So I can't help thinking there was something going on a bit more there, because if you look at Clacton as well, the Labour candidates stopped campaigning in Clacton, which is, why did they do that? You know, there's a lot of questions I think people need to ask about how they've been played.
Exactly. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and
how we get past that. How do we change that? How do we educate people to do things differently? Wow. How do we get people to vote differently? I mean, we do need a different voting system. We really do. So
that was absolutely abundantly clear. But we're going to, you know, just be pure as we can as independents, and you know, hopefully at some point people will see what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to flush Westminster out and bring the power genuinely back to the people, because until that happens, you know, and
recognition, as she said, you know, like I said, I'm not sure what's ahead or what I'm going to do. You know, I'm not against running for office, but as you know, it takes so much money, about our own money as well. It's really hard, and we're in that catch-22 where if we take money, we become compromised. So it's really hard. But if there are more elections, I think you're right. It's recognition. You know, people get to know you. People, you can look back and say, well, you know, we said this, we did this.
We've got all the receipts, Debbie. That's the thing. We've got all the receipts now, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Guess we should wrap up there. Like I said, we'll make another video soon. There'll be plenty more coming up that we want to discuss. Everyone in Swindon, thank you so much.
There's going to be lots of stuff coming up. You know, we're already talking about it. Lots of stuff is going to kick off in Swindon. There's stuff coming down the line very quickly, I think.
Your ULEZ and all that. And don't you worry, Debbie and I will be right there to fight tooth and nail against this tyranny that they're planning to roll out. But no, thank you very much, Debbie.
Okay. Yeah.
We will sign out now, but we will
we'll leave it there for now and see what unfolds over the coming months and weeks. Yeah. Yeah.
No, fantastic, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye, everybody. Bye for now.